Secretary General Antonio Guterres has expressed concern over the killing of the leader of Iran's Revolutionary Guards by United States troops. Guterres is calling for restraint from both countries, saying the world cannot afford another war in the Gulf. This as Iran leaders engage in talks of how to respond to the killing. General Qasem Soleimani was killed near the Baghdad airport in Iraq this morning in an airstrike ordered by US President Donald Trump. The strike marked a dramatic escalation in a shadow war in the Middle East between Iran and the United States and its allies, principally Israel and Saudi Arabia. Israel put its army on high alert, and US allies in Europe, including Britain, France and Germany, have voiced concerns about the escalation in tensions. The US Embassy in Baghdad has meanwhile urged citizens to leave Iraq immediately. Suleimani was responsible for Iran's military strategy across the Middle East. Let's get more on the story now. Our correspondent in the United States, Nick Harper, joins me now for more. Nick, a sharp escalation of tensions. Some US media houses are saying that Iran is vowing forceful revenge. Take us through the latest.
That's right, yes, severe revenge. Those are the words that we're hearing from the top leaders in Iran. And that, of course, is the big concern. What will they do and how will the United States respond? Because from an international point of view, and also from the United Nations, the watchword is de-escalation. Everyone is saying that now is the time to exercise maximum restraint, to de-escalate those tensions which have been building up for some time between the two countries. And even though we've had this assassination, they're cautioning calm, that there should be no retaliatory measures. But the fear is, when we're having threats like this from Iran, that we may see some sort of potential retaliation. The United States, of course, is concerned about that. But I guess what is also of concern to the American people is whether or not the US has a clear strategy for what comes next. Did they decide to carry out this attack as part of a longer-term plan? They had already put some thought into what might happen in terms of retaliation and how they may respond, or did they simply carry out this airstrike because the opportunity presented itself? They found out where Suleimani was, that he was in a car outside Baghdad airport. They were able to carry out a drone strike on him. So they had that opportunity, they took it, but did they factor in what would come next? And there is considerable concern within the United States, but also around the world, about whether or not there has been that forethought and that planning as well. Because bear in mind, the Trump administration and the president himself, Donald Trump, are known for those off-the-cuff decisions. He likes to shoot from the hip, perhaps do the deed and then think about the consequences later. So certainly concern at this hour here in the US and around the world.
Nick, would that concern be increased by the fact that China, Russia and Iran were said to have held military drills together last week in Oman?
Well, potentially, yes. I mean, the fact that those three countries are working together is of no surprise to anybody. We've already seen that condemnation from both of those countries, from China and Russia, that they have come out and said that this is a terrible action, that it shouldn't be carried out, and that there could potentially lead to an increase of hostilities and tensions within the region. With those military drills set to take place, I mean, you could question the timing of this attack, but it doesn't seem to be directly related, the carrying out of this strike, and that those military drills were due to take place.
Nick, Donald Trump, the President of the United States, saying in a tweet, as we know that's how he communicates so much of the time, that that general who was killed was planning on killing many more Americans. Do we know where this comes from?
We don't know. This is the line, though, that Donald Trump and the State Department is putting out, that effectively they carried out a preemptive strike on Suleimani, that he was plotting an attack of some kind that would put American lives in danger. Donald Trump and the State Department have said that Suleimani is responsible for hundreds of US personnel deaths in Iraq during the course of the US invasion of Iraq ever since 2003, that he injured thousands more. But they also say that he was planning something else that was going to put American lives at risk. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has talked about this quite extensively, and while he didn't want to detail exactly what the threat was or what the potential plot was going to be, he did say that the US actions had saved American lives, that Suleimani was actively plotting in the region. It would have put hundreds of lives at risk, and they have disrupted, as a result of carrying out this drone attack, an imminent attack on US people within the area.
Nick, we know that the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad has advised American citizens to leave that country. We also know that people who are working for foreign oil companies have also been advised to leave. And there's a concern that if there isn't a de-escalation, oil prices in particular are going to be affected by this escalation in tensions between Iran and the United States.
That's right, absolutely. We've already seen the United States say to the citizens of the US who work within the country, and there are plenty of oil workers who do so, that now is the time to leave. They need to evacuate. They shouldn't even bother going to the embassy because there are no consular services there for them. They should just get themselves out of the country. So yes, with oil workers leaving, there is concern about the oil industry. We saw a huge spike in prices within minutes of the attack, about 12 or 13 hours ago. We saw them jump, and since then they have stabilized slightly, but they're still up to about an 8-month high. There is that concern when we have something of this nature within the region, which is such a large oil producing region with oil coming out of Iran and Saudi Arabia. When you have a disruption of this kind, it could impact production, it could impact oil flow as well, and that's where people get worried and we begin to see oil prices rise. So yes, there has been the implication about what this does for US-Iran relations, but there is also this concern of what it does on a global level for oil prices, for people around the world who rely on oil, who rely on petroleum products, everything from filling up their cars to the ability to be able to run their stoves at home. It is going to have an impact, and we've also seen an impact on global markets as well. Wall Street has fallen somewhere in the region of about 0.5% to 1% during the course of today's session as a result of what we've seen in the Gulf region.
SABC correspondent Nick Harper coming to us live from Washington, D.C. in the United States, giving us an update on that US-Iran situation. Thanks for your time.